We like old adverts.
Welcome to We Like Old Adverts, the channel that likes old adverts. Today, we are joined by a man who is a filmmaker, writer, presenter, and all kinds of things, Danny Wallace. Thanks for joining us. Danny's brought us an advert to look at, which we will get to a bit later.
Come on.
Actually,
Don't make them like that anymore.
It's actually a very sad story.
But before we get into that, if you like weird internet stuff, then we are the channel for you. We make regular videos about the maddest, funniest adverts we can find. So if you like the sound of that, hit that subscribe button. Now, before Danny's advert, we've got a couple of our own to look at. So let's have a look.
There's something strange in the neighborhood.
So who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! Each sold separately.
Have no fear. Becky, Steph, and Spengler are here. So are these ghosts. They've got ectoplasm. We've been goofed. Now what? Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Let's show this pile of dessert who's boss. Activate Neutrona Blaster. We ain't afraid of no ghosts.
Peter Venkman, Ectoplasm, Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and other figures each sold separately. Ghostbusters, new from Kenner.
Wow. Wow.
A nostalgia fest, isn't it?
It was beautiful. It was beautiful in so many ways. And yes, a nostalgia fest, and brought a lot back to me.
Yeah, I mean, we can see that you've got a Ghostbusters poster behind you, and we're very aware that Ghostbusters was your specialist subject on Mastermind.
It was, and I nailed it. I got all the questions absolutely correct, including Camp Wakanda.
Wakanda, correct.
Which I did have to stretch for, but that was where, of course, anybody?
I mean, it's the Marvel setting, isn't it? Wakanda, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's where Ray used to go on holiday when he was a kid. Come on. Anyway, that for me was the hardest question. The rest of it was a little too easy for my liking.
Ghostbusters and the sequel Ghostbusters 2 are both set in which American city?
I was looking at box office numbers for like the German release and the sequels and little trivia and all that. And in the end, all I needed was Camp Wakanda, really.
That advert reminds me of having the ectoplasm and how I can remember the smell of it. From that advert, I had the ectoplasm and definitely one of the Ghostbusters, possibly Peter Venkman and the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I think my brother and I had these between us. Makes us sound quite spoiled. Maybe we were. But I'd forgotten about that stuff. Like, I mean, I was 2 years old when Ghostbusters came out, so it had a long sort of life to sort of get in my brain and make me as obsessed with it as I was. I think everybody was, right?
It's the greatest film of all time. Sorry, I'm interrupting you, but
please.
It needs to be said. It is the greatest film of all time. It's people all say the Bible is the greatest story ever told. It's not. It's Ghostbusters, and then maybe Gremlins 2, and then the Bible. And
the Bible sort of has ghosts in it, probably somewhere. I don't know.
Proton packs, and it has a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no giant marshmallows, but perhaps that's an allegory or something. If I was a head teacher, I would somehow get into Jesus through the spirits within us. We are all we're all that trap, aren't we? With a spirit inside that we can release.
There is no paradise, only zoo. What can I say?
There you go.
Got Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd. For the Bible to compete, it'd have to have like Buddha in it as well.
Yeah. You'd need some pretty big stars. I mean, Jesus, he's right up there. He's very well known. But Bill Murray, he's hard to get. Jesus is omnipresent. He's everywhere all the time. He's in everything. Yeah. He's like Jimmy Carr.
Bill Murray doesn't even have an agent, does he?
He doesn't.
He just turns up to your party randomly and does the bar.
That's what he does. That's what you want from your enigmatic stars. But looking at that advert, I mean, how exciting! It brings back how exciting those toys were until you played with them. Because then you realize that whatever this laser is that's coming out, that's just like a twirly bit of plastic that's just doing that in a bit, and it doesn't do anything. Marshmallow Man is about 2 foot bigger than the Ghostbusters, which doesn't work either. And then you just got some slime, and it's because you never had the backgrounds. You never had the kind of the world for them to be in. They'd just be on your dining room table.
It should say, as a disclaimer at the bottom, requires an imagination, because the twirly bit and they're not in like a haunted house or on a spaceship or something. They're playing like in a utility room, and I respect that.
So I'm glad the director made this, set it in a normal home, because it would just have made me worse as a kid. Because I was terrible genuinely would beg my parents to install a fireman's pole in my room.
Oh yeah.
And like the logic for me was that it was just quicker to get downstairs. Like, and I genuinely convinced myself that this was true, and they were mad to not listen to my demands for a fucking pole from my bedroom.
It's funny when you were a kid, the fireman's pole does just seem like something that all architecture should have. If you ever designed a house, you design like your favorite sort of like what your house would be like when you grew up. It always involved a fireman's pole.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
And I got that from Ghostbusters. Very
much
difficult
easier to get down, but hard to get.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't, advocating that they destroy the staircase. That would still be able to get up the conventional way.
I think we need to address the elephant in the room at this minute. Where's Winston? Are these guys racist now? I mean, he loves this town.
I love this town!
You could get him, because I had Winston in this collection, but...
Well, yeah, that's a very good point. And also, they always had to look a bit different, because this, of course, we all realize isn't the Ghostbusters. This is the real Ghostbusters, which is the animated sort of version where you had someone who looked a bit like Egon in that he had glasses, but everyone else was just a bit different because they weren't allowed to use the real. And I know this because I've never talked about this, but a few years ago, I was getting ready to move out to America for a year. And just before I did, I got an email, and the subject line of the email said, Danny Wallace, Ghostbusters, ? So already this was the greatest email I could possibly get. And they said, it was someone I knew who weirdly had seen the Mastermind clip, and so knew I was a huge fan of Ghostbusters. And she happened to be a big exec in America. And she also happened to be working for a company called Ghost Corps, which was Ivan Reitman's, or is Ivan Reitman's Ghostbusters specific company within Sony. And so to cut a long story very short, they said, would you have a crack at telling us what you would do with a kind of a Ghostbusters franchise or, an offshoot set at a certain period of time? And I was like, yes, I will. So I was on the phone that night and they said, we like the sound of this. And before I knew it, suddenly I'm pitching this show to Ivan Reitman and to the head of Sony, and they go, when can you move out? And I said, I'm already coming. And so suddenly my job for a while was develop, and it was the job I would have freaked out about as a kid, because I had to invent new Ghostbusters, and I had to invent new technologies for them, and invent new settings, and invent new ghosts, and invent new guns and cars, and I could design the new Ectomobile. That was what I was doing, and then I'd have to go to this office, and outside the office was the vehicle, the car, Ecto 1, and one day we looked out, and there was Winston, and he was in his suit, and he'd been doing a shoot for them or something. And at one point they went, I did a little pitch, because talking about toys, in order to get the series made, you had to convince people that they would sell toys off the back of it, because that's where the real money was for it. So you have to go and you have to pitch the toy companies first before you pitch the show. Mm-hmm. And so you then go to all these people and you say, well, this would be a play set, and this would be this guy, and this is the car, and here's an idea for this, and that would work with an app and all this kind of stuff. And if they say yes, then you can move it forward. So at some point, someone was designing that weird little set just like I was doing, and then pitching it, in their case, to Kenner, so that things could move forward. So when you chose that advert, I mean, all this has just come back to me. I didn't even think I was going to talk about that. But yeah, for a while, I was within the Ghostbusters world, and then everything crumbled.
Man. That sounds like some kind of dream. That's
I know.
Like an actual daydream that you had.
It was great. They had a cupboard. They had a cupboard that you could go to, and I say cupboard. It was like an office unit, and you would walk in, and it was just Ghostbusters stuff, like when you were a kid. It was just, and they're like, yeah, take whatever you want, and all the books and all the comics and all the kind of the uniforms and all the kind of toys and little things. And I was like 8 again. Yeah. And I took some stuff home, and it terrified my child. Didn't like it.
No.
Did you all? I mean, Connell and I are brothers, Danny. I don't think we mentioned that before.
Yeah,
we definitely had the toys, like so many of them.
Yeah.
Do we all have these? Because I'm sure you all like that plastic one that went on the heads.
Yeah, like you'd have on on your finger.
Yeah, I haven't thought of those since Thatcher was in power.
Also, because everybody had them. I've got memories of so many of them because my friends had them as well. And also, I think my mum and dad made us our own proton packs for possibly Halloween.
Oh, you've got to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh God.
Yeah, we had the proton packs and we went to Bolling Hall. That's a haunted house in Bradford. we were like, and we went with my dad and we tried shooting all the ghosts in a haunted house. I was 23 years old.
Yeah, there you go. Although weirdly, on that note, for my 40th, someone actually made me like a fake proton pack that they made with all boxes, and it was two men older than me who just spent their whole afternoon with gaffer tape and printing stuff out to create my own proton pack, which they then sent to me. And then I really had no use for it because I was a grown man.
Danny, you'll know this, I assume. Was the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man a real advertising thing, or was it like an in-world advertising thing?
It was an in-world advertising thing. It was a mixture of the Pillsbury Doughboy and something else. And it was kind of a last-minute kind of addition to the it was going to all be a lot bigger and darker, but they decided that would be, it would be something friendly that they could corrupt. And it would be this huge kind of, I mean, it was made of, in real life when they shot it, it was made of shaving cream. But I was asking Ivan Reitman, and you notice I never say, I was asking Ivan, or I hate it when you hear people talking about these people and it's like, well, I was saying to Bobby, his name is Robert De Niro. So I was saying to Ivan Reitman, director of Ghostbusters, I was like, when was the moment you knew that this was going to be the best thing in the world? And it was around the shots of when they were preparing to go up the building to fight, and ultimately get covered in shaving cream. It was, for him, the iconic moment was when they had loads of extras and they were all chanting Ghostbusters, and you see these guys walking down the street in their flight suits, and it was like, this is big and this is real. But I think that was the day as well. They realized that they could call it Ghostbusters, because until then it was going to be called something like, they were having trouble because someone had done a Ghostbusters thing already.
Cartoon, isn't it? There's another one. I remember.
Yeah, or it was like some kind of children's show, and it was called something like they were called Ghostbusters, and so Ghostbusters was going to have to be called something like Ghost Getters or Ghost Bangers or Ghost. I mean, that would have been odd, but it was something else. And then when they had the crowds, they just went, let's just pay them off. We're going to call it Ghostbusters.
Well, we could obviously talk about Ghostbusters all afternoon.
Well, why don't we?
As a compromise, we're going to stay in the 80s, if that's all right with you, Danny, with our second advert, which I initially thought was a parody.
She was a fever from which I will never recover. All heat and hunger. She inflamed my senses.
Save me.
And when she had devoured my very soul, please, when I had nothing left to surrender, she abandoned me to the wreckage of myself and smiled.
In the kingdom of passion, the ruler is obsession. Calvin Klein's Obsession.
Oh, the smell of it.
Well, it stands up. I think it still stands up today. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Oh, the smell of it.
Oh, the smell of it. And why you would watch that and go, I want to smell like that.
Yeah. I want to smell of desperation.
Yeah.
Smell of an obsession so bad it borders on and perhaps is mental illness at this point.
Yeah. I want to smell like a fever that I can't recover from. Their words, not mine.
I mean, you can sort of see why in the 80s and early 90s the advertising industry had such a reputation for very heavy drug use.
Yeah.
Because there was a meeting about that, and someone did a drawing board, and they said, these are the words that we're going to say. And then she slaps him and walks off and crumbles a flower on his head.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, that's great. How much is this going to be? Because we've got millions of dollars to spend on this. And they went, it'll be all of that.
Yeah.
But we'll shoot it in one room in an afternoon.
It's not the only advert that this woman is in. She does this to a number of men across different Obsession adverts.
Forgive me. I loved you all.
Liar, you only love your dreams.
It's so arch and so abstract. But the weird bit is that it's a perfume. There is Obsession for men, but this is Obsession. So she's like the aspiration. You could be like her. She walks up to someone, gets off with her fella, then slaps her in the face, turns to someone playing chess and goes,
save me.
No, save me from this horrible advert.
Save us all. Save us all. Yeah, you too can be like me, an extraordinarily horrible person.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that about. I remember, and it was parodied endlessly because it was so easy. So you had like the start of Fry and Laurie.
Pretension by Fry and Laurie.
They made it very easy because, as you say, it's almost impossible to tell whether it's parody by our sort of modern standards.
I think all perfume adverts have spun out of this as well, haven't they? There's still, it's very rare that a perfume advert is even about smell. I think there's a Jean-Paul Gaultier one where somebody smells a pillow where someone's slept. And it's like they finally actually made it about smell. I think even the Mr. Plow advert in The Simpsons could possibly have its origins in this.
I don't know about you. You know, we're all from kind of the same nation, but various parts of it. But this advert made me very embarrassed.
It's a weird way of saying we're British.
Yeah. But it made me embarrassed to be English.
Oh, no.
I'm not saying British.
Oh, you're just saying English.
It's just English. Because can you imagine a Scottish person doing this advert? Can you imagine an Australian doing this advert?
Surely that was American. That must have been American.
I think it's American money, but they're all English voices.
Oh, they're all English voices. Yeah. I mean, you know, I guess they didn't know what they were being booked for. I know we're getting to my advert in a bit, but I nearly chose a different one for you, and I'll just describe it because I think it's, it's a little odd. But a friend of mine is an actor, and he would turn up to jobs and not really know exactly what he'd been booked for. And he knew it was a beer advert, and he knew it was in Poland. And so he went and he got this weird script, and he just did it. And he didn't remember it until about a month ago. And then he found it online. And it is the weirdest, most strangely offensive advert you've ever seen that makes absolutely no sense and is entirely in English. And then a bizarre thing happens at the end, and then just a Polish man just goes, "Dog in the fog, beer," and it's over. But the script he's being made to read is just like, if he was a little more well known, he'd have been cancelled by now.
Oh, God. Danny, you did bring us an advert very kindly. Again, it's another one that just makes me so pleasantly nostalgic. So let's have a look at it.
Well, but before you play it, can I say that when I saw this as a kid, I thought this was incredible. and I wanted this. I wanted this.
Put aside all preconceived ideas about holidays in Britain. Center Parcs is here. Center Parcs is a completely new holiday experience from the continent, built around an amazing subtropical swimming paradise where the temperature is 84 degrees, whatever the season. A family holiday where you choose how to spend your time, and we make it all possible. At Center Parcs, the setting is beautiful English woodland, and it's waiting for you 365 days of the year. Ring us for the brochure. Center Parcs, a British holiday the weather can't spoil.
Is anyone else getting the word sinister?
Oh, massive.
Yeah.
Massive.
Because that music and the slow fade in and the color palette and the slight wobbliness of it and the fact that no one seems to be actually happy, they all seem to be sort of like robot holiday makers. It's so sinister.
Also, the voiceover being John Hurt.
It's John Hurt. Yeah,
Is it John Hurt?
Ian Holm does a lot of voiceovers from this period. Like there's Alien alumni all over that, but that is his voice. I don't want to associate a holiday with Alien, especially not in the 80s when I'm a kid, and it's the most terrifying thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And it's when John Hurt is saying that it's 84 degrees. This is before we started to use Celsius.
Yeah.
And it sounds like...
Well, it's from the continent, remember?
Of course. But you've got John Hurt's voice, 84 degrees, the music, and this dome. It's like some future torture dome with a really depressing ending, you know?
Yeah, and so you're sure that something's going to go wrong. Because
exactly.
It feels like in a sci-fi movie where they say, here's a new concept for a hotel on Mars, and it's in a dome, and it's an island paradise, a new idea from the continent where the temperature is always 84 degrees exactly. And then it goes to a weird cabin in the woods, and there's a strange family in there. No one's having fun. They look like they are, but they're not. There's something deeply, deeply wrong and sinister about it.
The music, that it started with that brilliant... Richard Strauss, dun, dun, and then it doesn't go bum, bum. Because it goes off in this weird electronic aria. At the, I don't know what they were thinking. It's like...
it's the sense of anticipation that it doesn't deliver on. because you're waiting for it to hit, and then it doesn't, and then you're in the, which is a bit like being on a holiday there, I suppose.
I love that one of the things in the advert is, or one of the selling points is, it's a family holiday where you choose whatever activities you want. It's like, hang on, right? That's normal, isn't it? That's suspicious to me. It feels like you're going to get there, and it's like the village from the prisoner. Like there's no getting out of this bloody EU holiday dome once you get there.
I don't know, Jim. I once went to Spain, and it was like, I couldn't do anything I wanted to do. It was all laid out before me.
Like a stag do.
Go to the beach today. I don't want to go to the beach. You're going to the beach.
It's Connell's ashes, isn't it?
Yeah.
It needed a strapline at the end, like Center Parcs. You can come in, but you may never leave. Like that. Like
I don't think they needed that tagline, really. I think it's just so. Quite obvious that that's what happened.
But you mentioned it was John Hurt. I didn't realize that, and that makes sense now, because I imagine he went in and did it in one take, because those guys would come in after a long lunch in sort of Soho, boozed up, and just do it, and then no retakes, which is why I think he says Center Parcs wrong every time he says it until the very end. Because he's just like, he's going, welcome to Center Parcs.
Yeah.
And that's obviously, it's an actor making it his own, but there'll be people that are going, John, it's Center Parcs.
Center Parcs is here.
Center Parcs. Keep saying Center Parcs. No one's ever said Center Parcs before.
Yeah, I know it's spelled ridiculously, but
Yeah, well, remember, it's from the continent. And then only at the end does he say Center Parcs.
Yeah,
which is correct. He finally gets it. Sure, I once had a pee next to John Hurt, and we had a chat, and he sounded younger during that chat, when he was in his 70s, I imagine, than he did doing the voiceover for Center Parcs.
But if we're slightly tempted to, if I was at, and I'm going to sort of show how immature I possibly am here, if I was at a urinal next to John Hurt, I would be tempted to do the sort of like alien thing, but with my penis.
Or,
well,
I can tell you why it was he played the Elephant Man, but we won't.
And that's why Jim's not allowed to the BAFTAs anymore.
Exactly.
One of many.
I don't want to put mockers on this advert, but I noticed loads of pool violations in that.
It was the 80s. It was a different time.
It looked dangerous there. I don't know how they do it on the continent, but it looked dangerous in that door.
Yeah.
Going down the slide head first. Are you mad? That won't happen today.
Well, I think they were lightheaded because of the constant 84-degree. I love the fact it's just all the same. It's just always the same. 84 degrees, no variation. But, I really wanted to go to Center Parcs because of that advert and the subsequent ones. And, of course, we were never going to go, not my family. It was there was one, I think, somewhere in, like, Leicestershire or Nottinghamshire.
Sherwood Forest.
Yeah, and I really wanted to go. That one. But I've taken my kids, and we had a really good time. Although
you live to tell the tale.
I live to tell the tale, but I tell you, it's not true that you get to decide what you do. Your children decide, which is how I found, and a lot of it is made for kids. So the very first thing we did within 5 minutes of being there was I didn't even remember booking half this stuff, but suddenly I've got to go on some kind of weird trail from tree to tree using very thin, like, metal ropes to stand on. And if you're a kid and your sense of balance is, or your center of balance is lower, it's all right. They can scamper across. But I'm sort of 6'2", and I was just doing this, right? I could not stop doing this. My body was going, I don't understand what's happening. We've never moved like this before, these muscles and all this. And the most embarrassing thing, while I'm doing this, and my kid is looking at me going, are you all right? And I'm just wobbling. And then an old lady with her old husband walked by and just looked up at me and just went, you can do it. And I was only 6 foot off the ground. But I was just like, don't draw attention to me, please, because now everyone's looking at me. And, before long, there would have been a slow clap, Dan, but I managed to get across. And then I just thought, yeah, I'll do the windsurfing or the tennis like the dad in the advert.
I found a really sad comment on that video as well. Someone put, we were meant to go to Center Parcs in Suffolk, but we all fell down with illness just before we were about to go. So I've never been to Center Parc. Close but no cigar for me.
Well, that's what a lovely comment. What a lovely comment for sharing, and well worth them doing that. What did they expect would happen? And has it had any ups or downs or whatever?
No interaction.
No engagement, but it has been mentioned here. Yeah.
Apart from me reading it out on here.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that's job done.
There you go. It's worked, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There was another comment that I really enjoyed on it, because someone said, that narrator sounds creepy and Center Parcs is shite. Why would somebody want to pay more to go on holiday in Britain as opposed to going to Spain, for example? And there were lots of responses to it until someone says, honestly, I prefer Center Parcs to Spain. To Spain!
Spain, all of Spain.
All of Spain. Better than Barcelona.
That's
Spain was 84 degrees. They might have a case. But
yeah, exactly.
Been better, but
all of Spain is not as good as a glass dome in Sherwood Forest.
Right, well, thank you very much for joining us, Danny.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you guys for watching as well. If you've watched to the end, you're our favourite ones, obviously. So please do like and subscribe and share and leave us a comment below. If you want to get in touch, you can find all of our details in the description below. So, yeah, thank you very much and enjoy your lives. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, the smell of it.